I got fired because an old woman slapped me in the face in front of my whole company. That's the short version I tell people when I don't feel like explaining the whole mess. It sounds like something from those workplace horror stories you read online. But it wasn't funny when her ring cut my lip and I tasted blood while my coworkers studied their bread plates, like they held the secrets of the universe. My name's Roy Brennan. I'm 46, been working corporate operations for over 20 years. I know how these company dinners work. You show up, shake hands, laugh at the right moments, and leave before someone says something they'll regret Monday morning. You don't make waves. That was always my protocol. The restaurant was one of those overpriced hotel places where our CEO likes to host these things. Dim lighting, fake candles, napkins folded into shapes that probably cost more than my lunch. They'd reserved a private room with a long table, name cards, and a menu with 3 choices that all sounded like they required a mortgage to afford. I found my nameplate somewhere in the middle section. Not near the executives, not by the emergency exits, right where middle management lives. My boss, Marcus Phillips, was working the room like it was his campaign headquarters. Mid-40s, perfect hair, the kind of guy who remembers your wife's name but forgets what department you actually run. "Roy, glad you made it," he said when he passed my chair, hand on my shoulder. Quick squeeze, already scanning the room for his next target. Wouldn't miss it? I lied. I'd actually considered calling in sick. I noticed her before I knew who she was. Small, sharp-featured woman in her early 70s, wearing a dark green dress that looked like it cost more than my monthly car payment. She had that posture you don't see much anymore, spine straight, chin up like she owned the building and everyone in it. She was sitting at the head table next to Marcus's empty chair, white wine hovering near her lips like she was judging its worthiness. People approached her one by one, quick conversations, nervous laughter. She barely acknowledged them. I figured she was some board member's wife, someone I'd never have to think about again after tonight. Sarah Martinez from HR did the welcome speech. Few jokes about finally meeting in person, the usual corporate speak about our people being our greatest asset. Glasses clinked, conversations started up in little clusters. The operational part of my brain kicked in, navigate to safe zones. Talk to Jason from IT about his cycling hobby. Listen to Linda from accounting tell stories about her kids. Keep the social protocols running smoothly. I was doing okay. Had a decent conversation with Jason about bike maintenance. Nodded along while Linda showed pictures of her daughter's soccer team. The wine was flowing, voices getting louder, ties getting looser, standard corporate dinner progression. I checked my watch. Another hour and I could make a polite exit. The problem started when I got up to let someone squeeze past my chair to the restroom. Marcus appeared at my elbow just as I was standing. "Roy, have you met my mother yet?" he said in that bright tone that means it's not really a question. I turned half-blocked by my own chair and saw the woman in green trying to stand at the head of the table. That's when the waiter with the red wine bottle stepped left, I stepped right, and someone bumped my back. For a split second, all I could see was silver and glass moving in slow motion. My elbow clipped the waiter's arm, the bottle tipped. I watched, helpless and too slow, as red wine arsed forward, like it was following some predetermined trajectory. It didn't hit the table, it hit her dead center. Wine splashed across her chest and shoulder, dark stains spreading across the green fabric like spilled oil. A few drops hit her face. One landed right below her left eye, slid down like a tear. "Oh hell," I said, already reaching for napkins. "I'm so sorry, ma'am." I didn't see she moved faster than I expected for someone her age. Her hand came up and she slapped me across the face, so hard my head snapped sideways. The sound cut through the dinner conversation like a gunshot. Every voice in that private room stopped mid-sentence. My cheek burned. Her ring had a stone in it that caught the corner of my mouth. Metallic taste filled my mouth. "You clumsy animal," she hissed, not bothering to lower her voice. "Do you know what this dress costs? Look what you've done." The waiter froze, bottle still in his hand, eyes wide. I held the napkins like they might solve something. "I'm sorry," I repeated. My voice sounded wrong. "It was an accident. I got bumped from behind. You shoved that boy into me like some drunk in a bar," she snapped. "Is this how you treat your elders?" Her eyes were sharp, clear, furious. The kind of anger that doesn't care about facts. "Mom," Marcus said finally, stepping between us. "It was an accident. Roy's one of my best managers. He didn't mean..." Don't defend him, she cut him off. If this is the caliber of employee you hire, maybe that explains your department's performance issues. A couple of executives suddenly found their phones fascinating. Nobody laughed. Somewhere to my left, a fork clinked against china and then went silent. I wanted to explain about getting bumped, about the waiter being too close, about just trying to be polite. None of it mattered. The narrative had already been written, and it wasn't mine. Sarah Martinez appeared at my elbow like she'd materialized from thin air. "Roy," she said in that careful HR voice, "let's step outside for a moment. I can help clean up," I started. "No," Mrs. Phillips snapped. "He's done enough damage." Sarah's fingers closed around my arm, not rough but firm, a grip that didn't invite discussion. "Come on," she said with a tight smile meant for the room, not for me. She led me past faces suddenly fascinated by bread baskets and wine glasses. Nobody met my eyes except one person. At a side table near the wall, an older man sat alone with a half-finished plate. I'd noticed him when I arrived, figured he was someone's quiet relative. Silver hair, simple dark suit, no tie. He looked straight at me as Sarah guided me past. Not sympathetic, not judgmental, more like he was taking notes. In the hallway, the lighting was harsh, unforgiving. My cheek still stung. I touched it and saw red on my fingertips. "I'm really sorry," I said, because it was all I had. "It was an accident." "Roy," Sarah interrupted, switching into full HR mode. "This isn't the place to process this. Emotions are running high, and Mrs. Phillips is very upset." "Mrs. Phillips," I repeated like the name might change something. "Marcus's mother," she clarified. "She's also a major shareholder." "You understand how delicate this situation is?" I did understand. That was the worst part. I understood exactly how delicate it was. "I didn't push anyone," I said quietly. "The waiter and I both moved at the same time. Bad timing." "I hear you," Sarah said in that way HR people say I hear you when they're also hearing their job description in the background. But right now, the priority is de-escalation. From her perspective, you were aggressive. Aggressive. The words sat in my chest like a stone. I didn't even raise my voice. "Roy," she said again, with that practiced calm, "I'm going to ask you to head home for the night. Get some rest. We'll talk about this tomorrow in the office." I stared at her. "You're sending me home." "Yes. Given how upset she is, it's better if you're not here when people are trying to enjoy the evening." She slapped me in front of everyone, I said, keeping my voice level, "and I'm the one being removed so people can enjoy dessert." Her jaw tightened for half a second. "I understand how unfair that feels. That's not what I said." She took a breath. "Roy, I'm asking you professionally to trust the process. We'll review what happened, but right now, your presence is only going to escalate things with a very important member of the Phillips family." I knew the company's position on protecting relationships and brand image. We'd all signed that handbook. "Am I being fired?" I asked. "No," she said quickly. "This is not a termination. This is temporary removal from a social setting that's become charged. Tomorrow we'll sit down, you'll share your side, and we'll go from there." I thought about walking back into that room, sitting at my nameplate with fresh wine, while Mrs. Phillips glared holes through my skull. I pictured how everyone would avoid eye contact, how this story would evolve by morning. "Fine," I said. "I'll go, thank you." Sarah replied, relief evident. "I'll check in with you first thing." She turned back toward the door, then hesitated. "If anyone asks, I'm telling them you weren't feeling well." "Sure," I said. "Whatever makes it easier." She slipped back through the door. The low hum of conversation rushed out for a second before it closed again. I walked down the corridor alone, past the front desk and lounge area, out through the revolving door into cold air that felt like freedom. My cheek throbbed with my heartbeat. In the hotel window's reflection, I caught a glimpse of myself. Loosened tie, split lip, that stunned expression people wear when they're pretending something didn't just humiliate them in public. Behind me, through the glass, I saw movement. The older man from the side table stepped into the hallway for a moment, eyes following where I'd gone. He didn't call out, just watched me walk toward the parking lot, hands in his pockets like he was filing the whole scene somewhere I couldn't see. I didn't sleep that night. Mostly lay there replaying the moment her hand cracked across my face. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard that sound again. Not the slap itself, but the silence after. The kind of silence that tells you people have already picked sides, and it isn't yours. The next morning, I showed up at the office 15 minutes early, which was stupid because I already knew they weren't going to treat this like a normal Tuesday. Rain was tapping against the windows as I swiped my badge. The lobby security guard nodded, but his eyes held that I heard something look. By the time I reached my floor, Sarah was waiting outside the conference room. Clipboard, neutral smile, the full HR armor. "Morning, Roy," she said like yesterday was ancient history. "Morning. Let's sit down for a moment." The moment stretched into a conversation that wasn't really a conversation. She spoke. I listened. "This is what HR calls hearing your side. I've spoken to several attendees from last night," she said, hands folded. "Did you speak to the waiter?" Her pause answered before she did. "I spoke to the individuals who came forward, right? The ones who are afraid to contradict a major shareholder." "Roy," she warned softly, "we're not assigning blame. We're assessing risk. Risk, not truth, not fairness. Risk. Given the high-profile nature of the incident and Mrs. Phillips's emotional response, she continued, "Leadership feels it's best to place you on administrative leave pending a full review." "Administrative leave?" The floor tilted slightly under my chair. "It's not punitive," she rushed to add. "It's precautionary." I actually laughed, one bitter exhale. My response? I apologized. "She slapped me," she maintained. "She felt physically threatened," Sarah said carefully, "given her age and your proximity." "I wasn't physically threatening anybody. I was trying not to fall over a chair." Sarah lowered her voice. "This is a sensitive family matter. The Phillips family has significant investment in this company. I need you to hand over your badge," she said gently. I looked at her for a long moment, then handed it over. She took it like it was radioactive. I walked out through the main office. People looked busy. Too busy. Eyes flicked away when I glanced their direction. Conversations died as I passed. Even the receptionist stiffened, like I was something toxic. At the elevators, I pressed down and tried to swallow the feeling climbing up my chest. Not sadness. Not even anger. Something heavier. The sense that one stupid accident had undone 20 years of playing things safe, being competent, reliable. None of it mattered. One slap from the wrong person, and suddenly I was the problem. The elevator doors opened, but before I stepped inside, someone called out behind me. "Roy," I turned. The older man from the dinner was standing in the hallway, coat folded over his arm. Up close, he looked composed, lined face that spoke of experience rather than age. "I was hoping I'd catch you," he said. I blinked. "Sir, I didn't know you worked here." "I don't, not yet technically. I joined the board yesterday morning. Independent oversight. Last night was my introduction to the team." He offered his hand. "Oliver Reeves." I shook it. Firm grip, calm eyes, not a man easily rattled. "How are you holding up?" he asked. I almost said fine, the default answer. Instead, what came out was confused. "That's honest. Most people choose prettier words." I didn't know how to respond. "I saw what happened," he said quietly. Every second of it, my throat tightened. "Doesn't seem to matter." "Oh, it matters," he said. "More than you think." HR doesn't think so. He let out a short breath. HR believes whatever keeps the company out of trouble, truth is often inconvenient to that goal. I didn't know whether to laugh or sit down. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying what happened last night didn't sit right with me, and I'm going to ask you some questions. Not as an investigator, not as your boss, but as someone who wants to understand something clearly." I frowned. "Okay." He stepped closer, voice lowering. "When she slapped you, did you say anything threatening? Move toward her, make any gesture that could be misinterpreted?" "No," I said immediately, "nothing like that." I apologized. I didn't even raise my hands. He nodded like he was confirming something he already believed. "And HR, did they give you a chance to speak freely?" "No. They told me to go home. Now I'm on leave." Oliver exhaled through his nose. "That's what I feared. Why does it matter?" I asked, frustration bleeding through. "They're going to believe her. People like her always win." He gave me a look that was almost sad. "Roy, people like her are used to rewriting reality. They've been doing it their whole lives because no one important ever contradicts them." Then he added more sharply, "But that was just the beginning." Something in his tone made my skin prickle. "What do you mean?" "I'm going to make some calls," he said, adjusting his coat. "I'd like you to stay reachable." "For what?" He gave me a thin, controlled smile. Not warm, calculated. For the truth, and for the consequences that come after it. Then he walked past me and pressed the elevator button for the top floor. The doors opened. He stepped inside without looking back. I stood there alone, rain still tapping the windows, badgeless, jobless, with no idea that the ground under the company was already shifting and that every person who'd looked away that night was about to feel the tremor. I didn't hear from HR for the rest of the day, but other people were suddenly very chatty. By noon, my personal email was filling with messages from coworkers who'd never written me before. Short, nervous things. Hang in there. Saw what happened. Sorry, man. Nobody said what it was. Nobody wanted anything in writing. By late afternoon, the tone changed. Something's going on. Marcus looks like hell. 2 board members showed up unexpectedly. I didn't know whether to be hopeful or terrified. Around 5 p.m., I got a text from an unknown number. Be ready. O.R. Oliver. Short. Controlled. Like a man who didn't waste characters. The next morning, another message. Conference call today. You'll be contacted. No explanation, no details, just enough to keep my pulse climbing. At 11:47, my phone rang. Not HR, a board liaison, voice calm, emotionless, scripted. Mr. Brennan, the board requests your presence for a remote statement. You'll receive a link shortly. A statement, not an interview, not a check-in, a statement. The link arrived seconds later. I clicked it. My laptop screen went black, then loaded a conference window with 7 muted cameras. No faces yet. Then they began switching on one by one. I recognized 2 board members from company newsletters. I recognized Oliver immediately. I recognized Marcus last. He looked pale, eyes sunken, shoulders tight like he hadn't slept in days. His tie wasn't straight, which told me everything. An older voice, steady, judicial. Mr. Brennan, thank you for joining us. This is a formal review concerning an incident involving you, a company shareholder, and subsequent HR assessment. Before we begin, do you have representation present? Representation? My pulse kicked. No, I wasn't told I'd need. That's fine. You're not under investigation. You're providing testimony. Marcus's eyes flicked up at that word. HR wasn't on the call, just leadership. Oliver leaned forward slightly. Roy, please describe the events 2 nights ago exactly as you remember them. So I did. Everything. The waiter, the bump, the spill, the slap, HR escorting me out, the hallway conversation, the administrative leave. I didn't dramatize, didn't add heat, just facts in exact order. When I finished, the screen was silent. Then one board member unmuted. And you did not raise your voice? No, sir. You made no physical movement toward Mrs. Phillips? No, and she struck you first. Yes. Oliver clicked his pen softly. Not impatience, confirmation. Then he turned his camera on fully. Yesterday, I requested internal reports regarding Mrs. Phillips's past behavior at company functions. Marcus's head dropped slightly. Oliver continued, voice like steel being sharpened slowly. What I found was a pattern of verbal aggression, public intoxication, and inappropriate interactions with staff, repeatedly documented and systematically suppressed. My stomach tightened, suppressed. HR had been burying complaints. This wasn't her first incident. Oliver turned to the board. Additionally, security footage from the restaurant has been retrieved. I froze. Footage. There was footage. The board chair cleared his throat. We have reviewed the recording. Mr. Brennan's account is completely accurate. Marcus finally lifted his head. I didn't know there were cameras. That the chair said coldly is part of the issue. Oliver cut through any response Marcus might have made. Your mother assaulted an employee. Then HR removed the employee instead of addressing the aggression. This is a glaring breach of policy. He turned his gaze on Marcus. And you allowed it to happen. It all happened so fast, Marcus said, almost whispering. So do car crashes, Oliver replied, but we still assign responsibility. Another board member spoke up. Oliver has recommended a comprehensive audit of HR handling over the past 2 years. Marcus's face drained of all color. And then the moment that shifted everything. Oliver leaned forward and said very quietly, what happened that night was just the beginning of what we discovered. A cold sentence, a promise of fallout. The chair turned back to me. Mr. Brennan, you will receive full pay until this review concludes. We want to make clear that you have not been found at fault in any capacity. My chest loosened. We may request additional information. He continued, but for now, that is all. The call ended. I sat there in my apartment, laptop still open, rain tapping the window again, heart settling into something resembling normal rhythm. My phone buzzed. Text from a coworker. Dude, HR is losing it. Sarah is crying. Marcus locked himself in his office. Everyone's saying something huge is happening. Another. They thought you were gone, you're not. And I realized this wasn't just about me anymore. This wasn't even about the slap. This was about a whole structure built on intimidation and silence, and someone finally pulling the thread at the top. The final call came 3 days later, mid-afternoon, when the light through my blinds was thin and washed out. I'd been trying to stay busy, cleaning things that didn't need cleaning, opening the fridge just to close it again. When the phone rang and I saw the company number, my stomach tightened. Mr. Brennan, the board would like you to come in today. Conference room 5A. Should I bring anything? Just yourself. I ironed my shirt twice, shaved again, walked to the car slow, like each step needed permission. The parking lot felt different. Empty in a way it never looked before. Inside, the receptionist didn't ask me to sign in. She just pointed toward the elevators, eyes wide. When the doors opened on my floor, it was silent, not office quiet. Funeral quiet. Conference room 5A was at the end of the hall, door half open. I pushed it gently. 3 people sat inside. The board chair, another member I recognized, and Oliver, hands folded, expression unreadable. Marcus wasn't there. Sarah wasn't there. His mother definitely wasn't there. Mr. Brennan, the chair said, standing. Thank you for coming. I nodded. Of course. Please sit. I did. The chair didn't waste time. We've concluded our review. You were not at fault in any part of the altercation. The evidence is clear. I let out a breath I'd been holding for days. The chair continued. What concerns us is not only the incident itself, but the systemic mishandling by management and HR. Suppression of reports, failure to intervene, misrepresentation of employee behavior. This goes far beyond what happened at the dinner. He exchanged a look with the other board member. As of this morning, he said, Marcus Phillips has submitted his resignation. I froze. He what? Effective immediately. He was given the opportunity to step down quietly. He accepted it. Marcus, always confident, always composed. Gone, just like that. And HR? I asked slowly. The other board member folded her hands. The director has been removed pending the audit. Several staff members are being questioned. There will be restructuring. She didn't say fired, but the meaning was there. Oliver finally spoke, voice steady as ever. There's more. My pulse flickered. The board finds it unacceptable. He said that an employee was assaulted, blamed, and removed from a company event without investigation. We believe you deserve not only reinstatement, but redress. What does that mean? The chair slid a folder across the table. Inside, a reinstatement letter, a formal apology, unambiguous and direct, a compensation adjustment, and an offer. A promotion. Regional director, Marcus's old position. I stared at it, then up at them. Why are you offering me this? Because you handled an impossible situation with more dignity than everyone above you, the board member answered softly. Oliver's eyes held mine. Because you were honest when no one else was. Silence settled over the table, but it wasn't heavy. It felt clean. I closed the folder. I need a moment to think. Take all the time you need, the chair said. I stepped into the hallway, breathing deep for what felt like the first time in days. The air tasted different, lighter. After a minute, the door opened. Oliver. He didn't speak at first, just stood beside me, looking out the same window. Finally, you don't owe them loyalty. Not after how you were treated. I know, but you also don't owe them bitterness, he added. You get to choose what kind of man you become after something like this. Most people don't get that kind of clean moment. I nodded slowly. It doesn't feel clean. It will, he said. When you stop letting other people define the narrative, I turned to him. Why did you help me, really? He gave me the smallest smile I'd seen him show. Because I've been doing this a long time. Men like you are the ones companies lose when no one pays attention. I don't like losing good men. When I returned to the conference room, I sat down, opened the folder again, and signed where they'd marked. Not out of gratitude, out of clarity. As I left the building, my phone buzzed. Message from an unknown number. We heard what happened. Mom is furious. Please call me. Marcus, I looked at it for a long moment, then deleted it. Not out of spite, out of peace. Some endings don't need dramatic door slams. Some endings are just quiet, like setting down something that was too heavy for too long. I got in my car, started the engine, and let myself breathe the way you breathe when the world finally stops pressing its thumb on your throat. For the first time since that slap rang through the restaurant, I felt steady. Untangled. Mine again. Sometimes the truth needs the right witness, not just the right evidence, and that witness can change everything when they decide to act.